Resolution number 2015-70, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a continuing contract with University Hospitals Bedford Medical Center, UH, for the purpose of supplying prisoner meals for the city of Maple Heights and declaring an emergency.
May I have a motion to suspend the rules and place this resolution on its third and final reading?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Call the roll to suspend, please.
Adams.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Sefirati.
Yes.
Jackson.
Yes.
Brownlee.
Yes.
Jojansky.
Yes.
Agee.
Yes.
May I have a motion for adoption?
Second.
Any discussion, please? Call the roll for adoption.
Adams.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Sefirati.
Yes.
Jackson.
Yes.
Brownlee.
Yes.
Jojansky.
Yes.
Agee.
Yes.
Passed as an emergency by the vote 7-0.
Would you turn to your expenditures over $1,000, which is 215.83 through 215-90? May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Would you call the roll, please?
Adams.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Sefirati.
No.
Jackson.
No.
Brownlee.
Yes.
Jojansky.
Yes.
Agee.
Yes.
Passed by the vote 5-2.
Thank you, council. We'll now move to the council reports. We'll start with Councilman Adams, District 1.
No formal report from District 1. Everything been quiet. All the phone calls have been about the election. I'd like to thank Councilwoman Agee, Councilman Jackson, and most of all, Linda Ruppert, and Home Depot for the work they've done on getting the grant to redo the Stafford Park Memorial. You know, I had pictures, I showed everybody the damage that we had from the vandals up there. And this is a positive thing, and Home Depot's been to our rescue many times. So if you have to purchase any home furnishings or anything, try to go to Home Depot and thank them for all they do for our city. And they are going to add some poles behind the memorial. And that's going to be an added beautification down there for the memorial. And that should be all done by spring. And I can hardly wait. So I really thank you, Linda, for your hard work.
Our pleasure.
And doing the paperwork and all. And thank you, Home Depot. And the report.
Thank you, Alice. Councilwoman Tony Jones, District 2.
Good evening, everybody. I have just a very brief report and just a little news report. On Monday, November 2nd, the Winter Crisis Program starts for anybody that needs utility assistance in a monetary form for your gas or electric bill. I also have it in front of me, which I'm hoping that the city is going to put on their website. And there's a lot of yellow highlights on here, which is a good thing because these are homes that have been rehabbed. The ones that are in white are still on the demolition list for the city of Maple Heights. Some of them are through the county bond money that we applied for, and the rest will be demolished through the Cuyahoga County Land Bank. And there will be a total of 81 homes. It's a slow process. There's been some homes that have already been demolished, And to the point of the two gentlemen, I looked up the address on Hillgrove, so we don't just sit up here and text sometimes, we actually do work. And that property is owned by the Bank of New York, and I'm gonna see if I can find anybody that's responsible through property preservation. And the reason being, somebody is still paying the property tax on that house. So that means that there's a responsible party somewhere that will try to help find for you. If not, I think just sending them some type of a notice for demolition might scare some people straight, so to speak. So we'll see how that works out. I'm sure that we have a lot of people here, and there's a lot of new faces. And I'm sorry, I have a cold. I don't know how many people saw, and I guess I'll just bring it up, the article that was on Cleveland.com this morning. And the headline, it was actually an article by Mark Namick, who's one of the reporters. And the headline reads, "An inner ring suburb on the edge. Maple Heights can't offer residents much, not even basketball hoops." I was angry when I read this. I felt like we were kind of put out to dry and somebody just sold out on all of us. And there's a quote in here that says, this is from Mayor Lansky, it says, "I can't fight for them anymore." And maybe it's because, you fight the fight for so long, you get burned out, or there's no gratitude because all you hear are complaints. But I'll tell you, the people that are sitting up here right now are fighting for you, and we're gonna fight the fight, and we're gonna win, and it's gonna take time. Just like, vacant houses or crazy neighbors or, whatever we have to deal with. But it all starts from within. We have to start believing in ourselves. We have to start believing in our neighbors, in our own community, and it starts small. The only way that we can bring the city back, aside from economic development and all the real hardcore stuff that people on council and city hall should be doing, but I think the residents need to start believing in themselves, pitching in together, helping each other out, and becoming more of a grassroots type of movement, because we need you as much as you need to have us. And with that in mind, just be very careful and read as much literature as you can, because I don't think there's another council meeting before the election. Vote with your hearts, read what you read. If you don't understand, talk to people, go to the candidates. And all I can say is God help us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Councilman Safrani, District 3.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to wish everybody a happy Halloween and a safe one too. Be sure that you keep an eye out, report anything that is out of the ordinary. Like the Chief of Police said, that you can make a difference, because I've sat up here and also preached that we make the difference in the city, and by somebody reporting something out of the ordinary, they caught the person robbing certain areas and certain, numerous places in that area, and it was a problem solved. Without that person helping, they would still be out there causing havoc. So thank you to them and the police, and just believe that you do make a difference, okay? And that's where it starts. I also wanted to just touch briefly on a little tidbit that I kind of view here. I follow politics. I've been involved in politics probably since I was in grade school. You got cooties. Anyways, in less than 2 weeks, you as voters will have the choice of mayor and several offices, behind this table here. And it is up to you to educate yourselves on that. The candidates, where they stand, and vote with somebody that you feel comfortable with. I wanted to point out, that this will be the first time in Maple Heights for probably the first a few decades that the mayoral candidates will not have any ties to any previous mayor. To me, that's kind of interesting, because it's the first time that that'll happen in probably close to 30 years. So to me, that is a new start. That is a new day. It's new views coming to the table. and a different perspective. So maybe that will be the difference, but, you know, in the end, it's all up to us to sit here and vote and to be involved. Once you say that you're not involved, you might as well just pack it in. So, just stay the course, do what you gotta do, and give somebody a helping hand down the line. Thank you, end of report.
Thank you, Anthony. Councilman Jackson, District 4.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I guess first I want to say, when I get phone calls or messages, I do keep a log of those calls. I try to call everybody back who calls me. If I miss somebody, I'll be the first to apologize for that, and I'm gonna go back and check my log and see about that. There has been a lot of calls about teens and car break-ins and garage break-ins. And in fact, just recently, we had a street meeting on one of these streets where some of these issues have come up recently. So I want to be kind of careful about what I say because I don't know if this is still in litigation or not. But these things, when they do come up, and when they come to me as a council person, I'm quite sure other council person up here, we contact the police because it is a police issue. And from that point, we try to work with the police to try to resolve those things sort of fairly. So I don't think it's up to any of us council people to take something, an issue dealing with law, and try to solve it ourselves without the police. That's no excuse for it not getting resolved, and I'm quite sure we'll be having conversations with those people in the very near future. And at the street meeting, as you probably would guess, the people who caused all the havoc didn't show up at the meeting. But I don't think that surprised anybody. As far as the memorial up at Stafford Park, I do want to mention one thing too. The contractors who cut grass around the city volunteered their time, and they cut grass, they trimmed hedges, they cleaned up everything, and all that time, and their equipment was all donated. So I don't want to leave them out. And lastly, just like to see everybody go out and vote. Thank you. Any report?
Thank you. Councilman Brownlee, District 5.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I'd like to take a moment and speak to Mr. Hardwick's questions that he raised earlier during citizens' comments. He is curious, wants to hear tonight what the circumstances are surrounding the lawsuits that have been filed against council, and that's I think it's pretty straightforward. There's something called the Sunshine Laws in Ohio. We have the Ohio Sunshine Laws, which are there to make sure that all government business is done in the light of day. Make sure that all meetings are open to the public, all deliberations are open to the public, that public officials can't hide things away from the public. So they're there to protect us as citizens, as residents. And the Sunshine Laws are pretty straightforward and clear. And those laws were not being abided by the city council. And it appears for a long time the violations were going on and going on. Back in February 2014, I first brought up the issues of not keeping minutes at meetings and was blown off. Brought it up again and was blown off. Brought it up again and was blown off. And in these issues of public office, often the only resort left, if no one will listen, is to go to the court system to have it resolved. And those are being resolved. Those issues of keeping minutes and of calling private meetings that are unlawful are being resolved. So those are the issues behind the lawsuits. I tried to resolve it without going there, but the council president and the former council clerk did not want to do so. So that was the last resort, was to go to the court system to have it resolved. Mr. Hardwick also mentioned Brownlee sued us as residents, I guess one could see it that way. I sued public officials who would not follow the law for the good of our community. And it wasn't actually, I'm not even the head plaintiff in this lawsuit. It's a resident by the name of John Chapman who brought this lawsuit along with myself against City Council for violating the sunshine laws. And hopefully that will be resolved here soon. Concerning some other comments, it was pretty troubling to hear the comments from the folks from, I believe it was Nitra Avenue. I'd like to hear more about that, to follow up with those folks, because those, while I've never heard something quite like that before, the frustration that they're experiencing is something that I think most of us are familiar with, where there's something going on in your neighborhood, a problem that's happening, and you feel like you can't get it resolved. You're trying to call the right people, and yet you can't get it resolved. You're reaching out, and it feels like nobody cares. Nobody's going to fix this for you. No one's going to help you. I've heard that in a lot of circumstances. Maybe not exactly like this one. It sounds like this is a very serious circumstance. But these, I think, betray these circumstances and how people feel, belie a truth that the city government is often not responsive to the concerns of residents and unwilling to go the extra mile for residents. This played out back at the beginning of the summer. There was a poor family who was having water literally flood their entire property every time it rained. It was a river running through their backyard and then down their driveway every time it rained. And this water was coming from a large parking lot behind their property that belonged to an apartment building. And when it rained, huge amounts of water all rushed to this one low area, through their back fence, and across their property. For years, they've been coming to city officials asking, what can we do about this? This is not good enough. This is not good. They were told that they needed to put in a French drain to absorb this water that was coming from other properties. You could look right there, staying at the back fence. You could see these large parking lots with plugged drains, and you could see the water, how it would flow over into their property. Yet city officials said, you need to put in a French drain to try absorb this water. That, I can't even believe they were told that. But they did. They went ahead and did this. They spent their own money and put in a French drain because the city told them to. And of course that didn't fix the problem, because we're talking about acres of water coming to one person's property. And so, for whatever reason, they reached out to me back in June. I'm not even their council person. They reached out to me because their council person wasn't doing anything. And for years, this had been going on, since 2011, I believe. So 4 years. And within 4 to 5 weeks, we had that problem solved. Why? I don't know why it's so hard to get solved. Why it took 4 years to get that solved. Within weeks, it was solved because it was clear as day what the problem was. The property owners behind them were not taking care of their drains. And as soon as those drains were fixed, it fixed all the problems for these people. This is a frustration that lots of folks have. I have a problem, I have a concern, there's something happening to me, something happening on my property, and who's going to help me solve this? That's what those folks were sharing tonight. This is a very serious problem we have. We can't simply sit up here and say, believe in your community. You need to believe in your community. Why believe whenever you come to the people who are meant to help you, who are here to help you, often aren't helping you? This has nothing to do with money, amount of money we have for employees. This has everything to do with heart and willingness to go the extra mile. I don't know how else to dice that. That's what it is. Well, I'm not sure. You're probably aware that it's October 21st, 2015. This is a date that will live in infamy. Does anybody know why? October 21st, 2015 was the date that they went to 30 years ahead and Back to the Future back in the 80s in the movie. They came forward to October 21st, 2015, and they thought we'd have flying cars and hoverboards. They didn't quite get that one right. But they did get a couple things right. We'd have flat screen TVs hanging on our walls. So that was just an interesting little tidbit I saw on Facebook, on the internet today. So I thought I'd share that with you. If anyone has any concerns, I encourage you to reach out to me through my website. Stop with me afterward, and I'll give you a card, because I think there are ways to solve a lot of our problems that we have. With that, may God bless you, and may God bless Maple Heights.
Councilman Trojanski, District 6.
Good evening, thank you everyone for coming out this evening. I just want to recap, last Thursday I held a block watch meeting for Hanson and Watson roads. There's been some issues there, and so I'm trying to circumvent that by starting a block watch and working with the residents to be proactive rather than reactive. I have a newsletter that's going out this month out to residents who will be hitting the streets this coming weekend. I'm working on a program for next month. On November 19th is National Women's Entrepreneurship Day, and I'm hosting a program geared towards women who want to be entrepreneurs, who want to be small business owners here. So I have a few women who are successful business owners in the city. So I'm hosting a forum that will be held on Thursday, November 19th. I'll have more details at the next council meeting on that program. And we all know that November 3rd is Election Day. We're closing a chapter and we're opening a chapter in our city's history. And so it's very important as you as voters to look at the candidates, look at the issues, and vote with your heart on who you feel best represents you and who's going to move this city forward. And so I encourage you and your family members to go out and vote on November 3rd. And with that, I conclude my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Councilwoman Agee, District 7.
Good evening. A special thanks go out to Linda Mopak. Thank you so much, Linda, for your hard work and dedication for securing that Home Depot. 2 updates for Southgate. First one, Southgate Lock and Keys are doing very well. They're going to expand to the building next door. CEOGC, which stands for Council Economic Opportunity in Greater Cleveland, which is a private nonprofit organization that's dedicated to serving low-income individuals of Greater Cleveland and Calhoun County, is now a new tenant at Southgate. If anyone in District 7 have any issues, please contact me, like you have been doing also. Mr. Brownlee, was that District 7 when you said somebody contacted you from another district?
No.
Oh, I didn't think so, thank you. Have a happy and safe Easter. End of report.
Thank you.
Jack, Madam President, can I make a statement? Comment?
Can you wait until I do my report, please? Thank you. I'd like to correct a couple of comments that were made. First of all, with Mr. Brownlee's, Councilman Brownlee's report to Mr. Hardwick. First of all, you would get the impression that we don't do minutes, just from his comment. We do minutes. The argument was for caucus minutes. Caucus is a kind of thing that we do for council. And the discussion involved taking caucus council, or how can I rephrase that? Caucus minutes. And unbeknownst to our council secretary, or council clerk, she was not aware that that was something that had to be done. I think if someone had politely come up to the podium or politely come to the meeting and said, you know what, I really think this is not happening, and perhaps we could do something about it. But it was not presented that way, never presented that way. As to private meetings, I can't remember when we had a private meeting. Maybe the mayor and I have a private meeting every once in a while, but that's about it. All of our meetings are open. Where you see private meetings, I don't know, Mr. Brownlee. And perhaps mediation, instead of skipping the part that we could actually sit down and have let's say, a non-confrontational, sociability kind of conversation. But that did not happen, hasn't happened. And that's unfortunate, because at this point, we are facing dollars draining our funds, as Mr. Hardwick has mentioned, because we have to pay absolutely ridiculous. But that's my personal opinion. The other thing that I would like to announce this evening is that there's going to be a special council meeting on Monday, the 25th at 6:30 to discuss the litigation of the Brownlee versus Council and Clerk suit, to make some decisions, to talk about stopping further incurring charges to the city's general fund. This makes me very sad, very sad. But that's going to be on room 7, 6:30, Monday, a special meeting. And that would be all of the council involved, except Mr. Brownlee, Councilman Brownlee. The other thing that I think, as someone mentioned, Joanne mentioned, science and literature, and this may or may not be appropriate for everybody, but there is going to be an AFL-CIO walk on Saturday from 10 to 2. Members of the AFL-CIO will be coming out and distributing literature to homes and houses in Maple Heights, and if anyone is interested in volunteering to do that, I don't have a time or a place, or not a time, I have a time, I don't have a place, but if you'd like to volunteer for a couple hours and distribute some literature, that would be very, very well received. It's the last weekend before the big event, the voting, and so many people still do not know what's going on, and that is so sad. It's almost a one-on-one conversation that we need to have with folks. A lot of folks still think Mayor Lansky is running, and that's something that that's really sad. That and I understand we don't have a newspaper. I have one neighbor who gets the newspaper across the street, and that's on Sunday. Maybe she gets her news elsewhere. Maybe you get it on the internet. Maybe you get it on our website. I don't know where people get their information. The neighborhood news reports what we say here, but not everybody reads it. We can go online, however, and definitely find out information, but it's limited, very limited. So I urge everybody to go out and talk to your neighbor. Talk to the person across the street, say, hey, do you know what's happening? Some people said they didn't even realize that there was a primary a month ago. And that's not good. We need you. We really need your input. Anyway, I'm done. Councilman Adams, you had a comment? You're welcome to do it now, quickly.
Thank you, Madam President.
Quickly.
Councilman Brownlee, I took offense to that lawsuit. When you said council, we broke laws. I've been on council, it'll be 8 years come December. All of us, pretty well at the same time, some newcomers here. But when I got into office, our council clerk was new also. I didn't come in here to be a councilman to break any laws. We read the Sunshine Laws, we went to the classes, which was noted on the Sunshine Law. We had no meetings hidden. I've always fought for transparency, financial, and in any business that the city does. The Sunshine Law was a matter of interpretation, and when we come in, and Jackie was correct, the minutes of caucus was never done prior to when we came into office. And that could go back a number of years that it didn't take place. So one of the things we did do that I see now is following what someone else did. Maybe we should have took a look at it. But to be sued? No. And he wants to be mayor? No. And I'll tell you why. And I liked Mr. Brown when he first got here. All he had to do was sit down with us. And we could have reached an agreement, because that's all it was. We could have researched it. I wouldn't have, never in my mind, ever think about going get an attorney and sue him. No, I would not. Because everything can be worked out. And that was just a small portion that got blew out. A full portion, and I mean bad. It costed us money, you're right.
That's right, taxpayers.
You money. But all you had to do, Councilman Brown, all you had to do was stay in that room and work it out. Which we was willing to do, but you jumped out and left and went and called an attorney. For whatever reason, and I think I know. For your own ambitions, political ambitions you had. That's what you did. We could have worked that simple thing out. And one thing I'll ask John to go back and to check how far back that the prior administrations did not take the minutes, just for my knowledge. Because I don't want to leave office this December with you residents, which are my friends, and I represented, to think that I would knowingly did something wrong. Because that's what he's referring to, all of us. And we're Christian people. We would never do that. And secret meetings, so we called an executive session, and that could have been worked out. But it wasn't. And
Madam
that's
Chair,
what
I'd like
it
to
is.
speak now,
Thank you. The meeting is adjourned
Oh,
at
see, there you
8:10.
go. Prove my point.